Hello everybody, it's me, Ghost Critic, and finally, I'm probably the last one to do this, I apologise, but here's my concept idea for Tim's latest comic book community kind of project that's crossed over with a few members of our community. So yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Tim sent a group of us a message and asked us to create what is essentially a comic book that we would like to see. I write and draw, etc. So he wanted basically the concept of the book and some characters thrown in, so like your heroes, your villains, if that was the kind of book that you were doing. And I do have to say, this was quite tough. It's not as easy as you think. And when you're not getting paid for it and you're on a deadline, it got a little bit stressful, to be honest with you. But I did it. He did ask for some drawings. Now, that wasn't going to happen. It would have taken me far too long and they would have looked terrible. So what I've basically done, I've just kind of grabbed some images off the internet to kind of show you what kind of look maybe in some cases they kind of would look like in the comic book. So firstly, apologies Tim that there are no drawings, but you've seen my efforts in the past. Right, so what you've probably seen from the title of this video, my comic book is called Camelot Heights. What it basically is, when you like bring it right down to its kind of bare skeleton, is a kind of reworking of the Arthurian legend of Merlin and his Knights of the Round Table, but put in a modern day setting. Now, the modern day setting is quite an unusual one because it's basically set on the coast of Cornwall in a nursing home, an old folks home where old people go to retire and spend the rest of their living life, I guess. And our the crux of the story is we have our main character, who I'll go into a bit more detail later, but we have Merle Innsbruck. Now, he is a distant descendant of Merlin, and he's kept his magic powers a secret for a long time, since his wife left him, in fact 20 years earlier. And he's now living in this nursing home with his two best friends who are married, Arthur and Ginny Pendergast. But Merle is dying, and what he wants to do is basically pass on his legacy, his kind of magic powers and the dark arts, or whatever you want to call them, that he's acquired through the years. He wants to pass this on to someone worthy, and hopefully someone within his bloodline. And of course he doesn't want these powers and magics falling into the wrong hands. In this case, it is the owner of Camelot Heights, this nursing home, the owner called Faye Morgan. Now, with the help of the nursing staff, Merle decides to teach his two grandchildren the ways of the mage, Stephanie and Stephen. Now, I was kind of coming from this from like, this would certainly be an Image title if you were going to throw it into a publishing house. It had this whole Image feel to it, because while you still have the kind of the magic element, the Arthurian legend and all that fits in with it, alongside it you have their kind of modern day life issues running concurrently with it. So as I kind of develop the characters and let you know a bit more about them, you will see real life situations that the secrets they're keeping and the like, but plus you have the kind of the tropes of Arthurian legend. So you're going to have the Lady in the Lake, you're going to have the Holy Grail, the Round Table thrown in there too. So the characters. We've got our main character, Merle Innsbruck. Now, he's a 79-year-old man, and he was born and bred in Cornwall. He's never left there. Cornwall is his life. He's never been anywhere. He's not been abroad. He's not been basically out of that area. He's a kind of short man, balding with a white beard. And he's maybe a little bit chubby because he likes his whortleberry pie. Look whortleberry pie up if you don't know what that is. Now, as I said, he's dying at the moment and he wants to pass on all that he's learned. Now, there are people that do know his secret. His two best friends, Arthur and Ginny, and of course our owner of Camelot Heights, Faye Morgan. Now, like I said, they have these kind of real life issues going on, and for many years, because he has been friends with Ginny and with Arthur since his early 20s, early 30s, but he has always been in love with Ginny. Now, he spends most of his time basically reading. He walks through the woodland that surround this nursing home and along the coastline of Cornwall. He has these two grandchildren called Stephanie and Stephen, and he's been in Camelot Heights as a resident for about 8 years now. Now, Arthur Pendergast, he's 79 years old. He was also born in Cornwall, but he has travelled the world. He's a very wise, very intelligent man. But although he's tried to look after himself over the years, obviously age has worn his spirit down, so to speak. And you have this face and demeanour of a very kind of wise man. Now, he's married to Ginny Pendergast, who nicknames him and always calls him Artie. And he has two children of his own who have grown up and left. Now, he hasn't seen them for the last 9 years, and he kind of fears that he will never see them again before he dies. Now, Ginny Pendergast, 68, she is one of these ladies that love the kind of the 1920s, 1930s movie actresses, and she kind of models herself very much on the actresses of that time. But of course, age progressed on. She's certainly lost her looks now. She met her husband, of all places, Stonehenge, and fell in love instantly with him. But she's always harboured affections for his best friend Merle. Now, she also misses her children dearly, but she's holding on to a very kind of dark secret from her husband. That being, her daughter died in a plane crash while she was travelling to the Middle East. And her son blames the father for this because he was always encouraging her to travel the world, to experience what the world has to offer. Now, she's kept this from her husband as she basically worries that when he finds this out, he will basically give up on life, that there will be nothing left living for. Now, she overcompensates her own grief by being a terrible flirt to the nursing staff at the nursing home, especially a young intern called Lance. Now, Stephanie and Stephen Innsbruck, they are both 16 years old and they're twins. And being twins, they have a very kind of spooky bond, which seems to be growing, and to the point where it's almost like telepathy that they are having with each other. Now Stephen is very much a bookworm. He's always got his nose in a book. He doesn't like taking risks. He thinks methodically through things before taking action. Of course, his sister Stephanie is completely the opposite. She's a wild child. She takes risks at the drop of a pin, and because of this, her wild ways get her in a lot of trouble. Now they regularly visit their grandfather and just dote on him at the nursing home. Now obviously we have to have a villain, and that villain comes in the guise of Faye Morgan. She is the owner of Camelot Heights. Now she's probably about her late 40s. She's still quite beautiful, but in a kind of stern headmistress type of way. And she knows that Merle is a long descendant of Merlin and wants his powers for herself. Her idea is that underneath Camelot Heights is the last remaining black dragon. Now the black dragon at the moment is asleep and cannot be woken without knowing a certain spell, and that spell only Merle knows. Obviously awakening the black dragon is not a good thing for the world at large. We also have the staff of Camelot Heights. These are all, well, we've basically got Gareth, Hector, Lionel, Percy and Tristan. Now they also know that Merle is a long descendant of Merlin, and have basically come together to protect him until he dies, so the powers that he has, the magic, won't fall into the wrong hands. This is unbeknownst to Faye Morgan. And so what we have is the basic start of this story would be Merle approaching his grandchildren, who probably at first would think he was completely mad, but as he explains and shows things he can do, they start believing. But are the twins, have they got the courage, the integrity to use these powers and to acquire these powers and use them for good? So that is my kind of brief, he says brief at 13 minutes, concept and kind of characters that I would be using in my story arc. I hope that interests and has entertained you for a quarter of an hour of your lives. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Tim is going to bring all these story concepts together to make one big universe. Once this is uploaded, I'm going to check out everybody else's, see what their ideas were, but I can imagine them being quite different to each other. So Tim, you've certainly got a job on your hands, but I'll look forward to it, and I'm sure you'll do a bang up job. Thanks everyone, thanks for watching, take care.